We are in season, but we have a spicy,
Oh boy.
very spicy dynasty trade to show you from one of our follower leagues here today. Shout out to the Delta League and specifically Don,
Come
the
on,
Don
boys.
and Scary Hours. They made a deal
Huge.
here right before week 3, right after week 2, actually. And we're going to share it with you. You know the deal. We're going to look at it without context. And then because we're in a league with some of our followers, we're able to look at the league and then show you guys context of this trade. It's a big one. All right, so the Don gets A.J. Brown,
Oh man.
Cam Akers, and a 2023 fourth. Scary Hours gets a 2024 first round pick, a 23 first round pick, and a 23 second. So I'm gonna put it over to you first, and then we're gonna firstly just talk about it without context. If you were just to look at this
Yeah.
trade, where would you lean here?
Yeah, if I look at this trade, man, it's really close. I'm a believer. I'm still a believer in Cam Akers. Had a better week in week 2, and I think people are going to see the flip. When I say the flip, I mean more of like a better workload for Cam. You know, a flip from 0 to at least 10 points. That's what I mean by flip, not like flip of 90% workload. All right, but
Okay.
I personally truly believe this is an even trade. I really like the trade so far. I like AJ Brown and what he's doing, but what we saw with Jalen Hurts, I think that could be really exciting moving forward. But if you can get a 23 first for AJ Brown, I think that is really good. If you can get a 24 first for Cam Akers, I think that is really good. And on top of that, Scary still got a 23 second. So actually, you get a 23 first and a 23 second for AJ Brown. That's how I'm seeing it. And then you get a 24 first for Cam Akers.
I
I
mean,
think,
you can see it however you want. The
yeah,
way I'm viewing it is no one's giving a first for Akers, so I think the third
yeah,
is where that value
there you
is,
go.
and then
And I
AJ
think
is the two firsts.
and I think that's where I was going to, is like the fact that he got a first for Akers, and no matter what, 23, 24, I'm really excited about that. So give
Okay.
me Scary. I like Scary. I think he wins this trade. Once again, I love AJ Brown and Cam, but I'm taking the picks for sure.
Okay. Yeah. The way I view it, at least, is that Cam Akers is the second round pick here, and then AJ is worth the two firsts. I don't think anyone's paying a first for Cam. That's kind of like how I'm looking at it. And
Sure.
you're right. It is very, very close. It's very close. The issue for me is the Cam Akers side. So if we were able to take out the second round pick, just take out the fourth round pick and the second round pick, right? And then I'm looking
Mm-hmm.
at two firsts for AJ Brown. Then that makes me a little bit more enticed to take the AJ Brown side. My issue is, again, I just don't believe in Cam Akers long term. I've been saying that all offseason. Um, but so for me, the issue again is the Cam Akers and the 23 second side. I wouldn't give a 23 second for Akers right now still. So if I
Okay.
could just have the AJ Brown for a 24 and a 23 first, give me AJ Brown. I mean, I would take that. I would take that deal right now, looking at this offense, projecting it into the future. AJ Brown seems to be a pivotal part of their success, and he's always been in that top 5 category for me. So for me to take these first, I'm hoping to get a talent like AJ Brown with one of those picks. So I'm going to take the AJ Brown side if Cam Akers wasn't there. But because Cam Akers is there, again, not a player I want to invest in long term, I
Sure.
would take the
Sure.
picks in on Scary Hours side here. So I do lean Scary Hours, but again, I wanted to give people a perspective as to like why I lean that way and how close it really was. So it was close for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think when you look at this trade, I think you could go either way depending on maybe your beliefs on Cam Akers. He's probably the big cog here. So obviously context is going to be massively important here for both of these teams. So why
Yeah.
don't we jump into the context and look at Don and Scary Hours team. Let's look at Don's team first. And again, friendly reminder that Don is receiving the AJ Brown side, correct?
Yes, Don is receiving AJ Brown and Cam Akers.
Yes. So keep that in mind. I mean, already looking at the team, I see Scary Hours has Jalen Hurts. So this is already something I don't like, getting rid of such a young, like, elite stack like that. But let's look at the Don's team here. Kyler Murray, Leonard Fournette, Brees, Terry, Josh Palmer, Everett, Antonio Gibson, Zay Jones, Kirk Cousins. And then our bench, we have Daniel Jones, Burkhead, Akers,
Mm.
Herbert, Evans, Cooper, Gage, A.J. Brown, Jahan Dotson. I like that. Goddard and Brevin Jordan.
Okay.
So you take out Josh Palmer now, and you put A.J. Brown there. And then at the tight end position, you can also rock with Dallas Goddard. And then maybe at this flex position, you can put Cam Akers or Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
So this team looks like it's 0-2 right now. But so this is why Don had to make this move. I promise you this is why, right? I mean, he's 0-2. He's looking at his team and he's saying, "How am I 0-2? This is an incredible team." So he felt like he needed to get this firepower with AJ Brown and Cam Akers to really flip this team around.
Yeah, and I think from the looks of it, it felt like maybe he wanted to win now. You know, you had Terry, you had Gibson at one point, which felt like a win now guy. Kirk Cousins, you know, you had you have Dallas Goddard here as well. You know, the quarterbacks aren't amazing, but like these guys, I feel like the longevity is Kyler Murray. Lenny is more of a win now guy. Terry feels more of a win now guy. So, you know, I think he really needed that extra oomph, especially with A.J. Brown. Like you said, put Terry, A.J. Brown there. That feels a lot more comfortable. And then the Cam Akers side, maybe by the middle of the season, we have a better understanding of whether we should be starting Breece Hall week in and week out. And same thing with Cam. In the middle of the season, we'll have a better understanding starting Cam week in and week out.
Right.
But you put Cam Akers in the flex, you start Antonio Gibson over Breece, and you know Dallas Goedert in your tight end position, and then you take off from there, see what happens.
Yeah.
I
mean, I'm less comfortable starting Cam, so I don't think Cam is someone I can start right now if I was in a redraft league, but we might see that differently. But regardless, I agree. It gives you so much more flexibility here. Breece Hall's there. Cam, you can make your decision. What I was going to say about this team, though, is we got Terry, we got Antonio Gibson, and we have Jahan Dotson. This is likely going to limit our upside on a weekly basis. Not that you have to make some sort of moves, but it might be worth your time, Don, to look at moving Terry or Dotson.
Right.
Dotson looks like he's on the up, so maybe if you can move Terry for another win now wide receiver, that might be something that I would be willing to look into. Not that you have to, but you just because ideally the way I would set his lineup would be Kyler, Fournette, Breece, Terry. Then I would probably put A.J. Brown and Jahan Dotson in here as well. So it makes it a little bit difficult because you don't really want to put those players there. But I think, again, really good team. I think this team is not going to stay 0-2, obviously. I think they're going to turn it around.
I agree. All
right, let's look at scary. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'll go for it. Scary, Jalen Hurts, Clyde, Monty, Devontae Adams, Deontay Johnson, George Kittle, Chase Edmonds, Tony, Baker Mayfield.
This is a little confusing now.
Yeah, with DeAndre Hopkins, really, I mean, the only people that I'm excited on the bench is DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Gallup, and Alan Lazard. You know, Van Jefferson, Albar, okay, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, this is really confusing. So you trade away A.J. Brown, and Cam Akers, and you had Tony Pollard, Chase Edmonds, who guys we believe in, but not necessarily guys we see for the long term. You know, maybe Cam Akers is not the long term guy in your eyes or in some people's eyes, but still, I think I would rather keep Cam and AJ because once again, like you said, as we started, Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, you had the stack.
Yeah, and then you don't have to rely on Edmonds and Pollard. You can put Deontay in your flex. The confusing part here is this team looks like it was ready to at least go on a run. You just needed to make a trade for a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at this team, right? If you have all the pieces you had Jalen Hurts, Clyde, which seems to be an okay starter right now. Monty, again, he'll have his good weeks. But your strength was with your wide receivers. You had Adams, you had A.J. Brown, you had Deontay Johnson as an option in the flex, and then you could flex Pollard or Edmonds.
Hopkins comes back.
And then when D-Hop comes back, I mean, you have an even stronger flex. Kittle is going, I think we both agreed, but Aki, that Kittle's going to be even better with Jimmy G than what we thought he would be with Trey Lance because of the consistency. So this team was pretty much a quarterback away, and Baker's going to have his spike week. So this team was pretty much a quarterback away from really competing, and he's only 1-1. So I'm confused. does this now mean we're selling the farm? Like, are we going to see Scary Hours now move on from Adams and Deontay and Kittle and
this is
just
what
completely reset? What do you think?
This is what it potentially looks like. Like if I'm Scary, I'm looking to try to get as much as I can get for Clyde right now. I'm looking to get as much as, when George Kittle takes off, try to trade him away, get a younger piece. It's tough. Like that's what it feels like right now. Maybe trade away Monty if you want. I mean, you currently now have a 2023 first, an extra, I'm assuming, and a 20. We haven't looked at
Should we
the
look
draft
at
capital
picks?
yet. Yeah, I mean, let's look at the draft capital because I think that would make a lot of sense on where both of these teams are going.
I'm more confused now because we didn't. We
got. I mean, essentially, we just got back a 23 first.
And if we want to start tanking, we don't even have our own. Who has his 23 first here? I have it. I mean, Scary, keep selling these assets off. Move Jalen Hurts.
It's tough. It's definitely
So
tough.
Trey Lance is what we weren't able to see, by the way. This brings a little more context. Trey Lance was on his team.
It's
Trey
on
Lance
his bench,
obviously went
on his
down.
IR, right.
So Trey Lance must have been the cog that triggered this sell off of these assets. But still, I mean, wouldn't you rather go get Jimmy G or something? Do you know what I mean? Like, let's find out who has Jimmy G.
I think the person that has Jimmy G would be stingy.
Crank has him.
Like if I had Jimmy G
Sure.
right now, the Trey Lance owner came to me, I want the world, I mean,
Well,
not the world.
I have
I'm not
Jimmy
gonna
G as well, and what I've asked from people is a second and a third round pick.
Yeah.
If you're in Scary situation and you have this entire team around him right now, I feel like it's worth it to give a second and a third for Jimmy to have like a reliable quarterback too, someone who can get you 15 to 20 points on a weekly basis. And then you have Baker there. Like let's see based off matchup, you can swap those guys out, and the rest of your roster still is in a place where you feel like you can compete.
Let me remind you, he didn't have a 23 first.
Totally.
He had.
So I said a 23 second and
a 23 second.
23 third.
Because he just got the 23 second back, I'm assuming.
Okay. Well, he has his 24 and his, it's 25. So I'm not picky if I have Jimmy G. I'll take a 24 second and a 24 third or whatever variation you want. I'm asking for a second and third personally for him in a league for the Trey Lance owners or for people who, want to compete.
That want to compete, right.
I don't know. I feel like that would have, we had such an infrastructure of a team. It's tough, man. This is tough.
I think maybe
Scary,
he also.
I have the first, so I mean, just
I think another thing
sell them all.
Yeah, what is his thought process on Trey Lance? Is he just giving up on Trey Lance? Because this is maybe also another indication. Cool, Trey Lance maybe he broke his ankle. It's a whole nother year. You have to wait for him. Is he going to be ready in his year 3 of his, quote unquote rookie year? And maybe that's his thought process. Maybe he's not a believer in the bounce back of Trey. So maybe he was like, you know what, I'll keep Trey, but let me get a 23 first to try and get a quarterback in 2023. But maybe let us know, Scary, in the comments if that is the thought process. But
I mean, you have people like me, right, who are clearly not competing, who have like Carson Wentz available. I've got a guy like Davis Mills available. I mean, you can look around the league and find quarterback options if it's not Jimmy G that you want.
Right.
I feel like, but let us know, Scary and Don. There could be some sort of context that we are truly missing. But yeah, I understand the conversation around Trey Lance because as someone who was completely all in on him, this ankle injury does change everything. It truly does. Yeah. I said it on the other live stream. I would encourage you guys to watch the beginning of the Monday Night Football live stream that we did last week. But I talk about it in depth. Essentially, I've had people come to me and say, don't give up on him because, we saw Dak come back. We saw Michael Vick come back from broken leg. Well, that's not the same exact thing, guys, because those players were established. They already established themselves in the league. They got past the point of, am I going to be able to do this? They had the confidence. They had the belief in themselves already. They had the backing of the team when they came back. Everything was already built around. When they went down, the conversation point was, when they're back, we're ready to go. It wasn't, well, Jimmy's here now, right? And for Trey Lance as well, someone who his entire fantasy output is reliant upon having
rushing.
His rushing upside. It's we don't know what he's going to look like when he comes back. So for me, for someone who has Trey Lance in a lot of dynasty leagues, this is not a buy low for me. If I'm in dynasty, this is I'll hold him if I have him because I'm not going to get proper value. But this is sad. This is just sad.
Right.
Anyway, I don't know where to stand here, man. I think I take Don's side with context.
With context, I am taking Don's side, but at the same time, Scary. I think the biggest question for us to understand, because if he says, I don't believe in Trey, and he does this, and then I would still go Scary because I understand his thought process moving forward. It's like, I'm just going to completely start rebuilding, essentially. And maybe this is just one of many moves he's going to be doing in the year. But at the moment with the context, without everything of the unknowing of Scary and Trey Lance, I am taking the Don side trade. Just feels more comfortable right now, and it makes more sense with the context that we have.
Let me ask you this, and obviously it favors me, but if you're in this position and you've already made this move and you've moved AJ Brown, you can't just stop here. I know that this favors me because I have his first round pick, but do you know what I mean? You can't just stop. Okay.
Scary, if you're watching this, make sure you make more moves to tank. No,
I'm genuinely asking you the question. If you're in this position, so what? You're just going to hold Adams for the next couple of years?
Yeah, and that's
Deontay and DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah.
It's not. You're not putting yourself in a good position, I don't think. You got to commit one way or the other.
I completely agree, and that's why I was in. Maybe you move Clyde, maybe you move Monty, maybe you move Adams. These guys that you try to move DeAndre Hopkins when he comes back. You try to move some of these guys and just get younger pieces. I'll try to get Jahan Dotson over there. I'll give you Devontae Adams. Let me get another 23 first or something like that. If you got it. Hypothetically, he can go to any team and be like, let me get younger. Sure. Let me get Treylon in the first. And Devontae. Let me get Garrett Wilson in the first. I'll give you Devontae. Just those hypotheticals of how he can continue to build in this team for the future and kind of, break it down, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I was going to say the Don does have a first-round pick still. So the Don made this move. He still has a first, multiple seconds, and multiple firsts in 24. The Don is building a dynasty.
The Don is building a dynasty. That's huge.
That's incredible for him. Needs to improve the wide receiver room, but he's already starting to do that with AJ Brown. So that's he's taking good steps.
It's been great so far.
Anyway, I think with context, I am gonna take the Don side here. I think it makes the most sense for what he's accomplishing here in the trade.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree.
Okay,
completely agree with the Don.
Let us know, Don or Scary, if there's any context that we left out. If you guys are watching it, why don't you guys let us know what side of this trade you would prefer or you would be on. I don't think either player got taken for a ride at all. I think there's definitely even value. If you look at it, Don definitely paid up for AJ Brown. This is not like a cheap deal that Scary Hours has given him at all.
Yeah.
So let us know in the comments below where you stand. Huge love. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLand fam.